is the slide for the sprint casings. I mean, this is really cool. Anti-tank cannon.
In 1939, when the Germans and Russians had divided Poland up between them, the Russians would eventually begin to construct a fortified line of bunkers facing their former ally, named the Molotov Line after the Russian foreign minister who had brokered the peace agreement with Germany. These bunkers hold many of the innovations from the Stalin line seen further east, and given the new border's placement, made use of remaining Polish bunkers or placed bunkers amongst these. So it's quite normal in Poland to see Russian, Polish, and German bunkers in the same area or town. The Molotov line was made up of 13 fortified regions, each covering about 100 kilometers. Similar in concept to the Stalin line, bunkers were built in groups for mutual support, forming a center of resistance. They had one permanent military unit assigned to them, and were constructed mostly by military engineers. However, depending on the region, civilians were sometimes made to contribute to the work in different ways. Many of these constructions were only just completed by the time the Germans attacked them. Some were not even ready or equipped at all, but those which were gave a good account of themselves, slowing the German advance in some places for several days. In total, around 5,000 bunkers was constructed in that 1 year for the Molotov line. Here, behind the Novgorod battlefield on the Narew River, as we saw in the last episode, several of those bunkers were incorporated in the first line of the Molotov line here. The second line is a few kilometers behind the city, and we're going to visit these as they are mostly intact and give a different, interesting mix of the types of bunkers used for the Molotov line.
Another overgrown Molotov bunker. One out of many that was built here, not far from the old East Prussia. It's sealed up by dirt on all sides, but it's a small machine gun bunker. I can say that beside the steel and the rebar, it is a little crumbling. I don't see any signs of weather protection on this one. Now we are in a nice field here in basically central Poland, right now facing north. Central Poland being the demarcation line here in this area of the Molotov-Ribbentrop line. So of course here we have the first of a string of bunkers of the defensive line. If you just look at random at where the Molotov bunkers are located, you'll find that line have been drawn up, like many other lines in World War II, by a very broad pencil. So they are a little staggered, but here, up until 1941, the Russians were preparing for the possibility of a German attack. Not far from here, the Germans were planning an attack. So let's go have a look at what's inside. First of all, looks like a shelter to me. Protected entrance. Seen that before. Well, a covered entrance for a small AT gun, facing in the general direction of East Prussia. That makes sense. And the armor plate, having seen enough of these, not very thick, but this is fairly standard for a lot of these. A thin steel plate. I have hopes that there was at least supposed to have been a thicker embrasure in here. And whether it was a machine gun or an anti-tank gun, this was a machine gun bunker for this, for the simple fact that you couldn't drag an AT gun through that door. Small, one-man shelter, steel roof. Here was a periscope. Very sophisticated with a periscope. They made a lot of periscopes for the Molotov line or the Stalin line. So now, what is interesting is if we go down this direction, we should run into the other bunkers. So this could be seen as the flank. So let's do that. a small, inconspicuous start. And it is good 2 meters thick. And here is my favorite thing about these. It's these openings right over where the muzzle would be. And I see that in quite a few of these where you would have the barrel of whatever weaponry was in there, and there's no ventilation inside this. So it was supposedly to go up through here and ventilate the muzzle blast from there. So with that in mind, it could have been an AT gun in place, not on wheels, or maybe like 40mm. Very hard to tell until I get a look at the papers. But solid built, small pillbox. And let's see what it's looking at. And here by the entrance they have a good pile of natural stone built up in the dirt for the entrance of the bunker. Decent production. There's a heavy steel door, of course. And it does look like there's a little ventilation pipe there. That could have been the ventilation pipe for Maximo 8. They had a cooling system, sorry. With this entrance, there's a very deep groove leading to it here on the side, which I can't tell you if it's from the time, but it certainly gives the impression that this could be a open field infantry defensive position. Runs all the way down to the path, a good 100 meters, facing the same direction as the bunker. Right there is the AT position pointing this way. And I'm standing on the next, which doesn't look like a fighting bunker, a fighting position. This looks like a shelter. And we are about to find out what this is. The next one is down there, all in a straight line, 5 of them within 1 kilometer. So this is really what this is. And I say that as if I now know. But here is a close defensive position. That's expected. Actually, it wasn't expected, but it's there anyway. Steel door. Huh. For a small room. What is this one room? There's just one simple, small shelter. Alright, there's a periscope. Probably radio, telephone, I get it. There's nothing in this. There's a close defensive position. There's even any sign of steel or nothing. Nothing. And this is almost under the line of fire of the AT gun or machine gun bunker we were just in. So what's the point? Steel door, one very small room, one defensive point. And that's it.
Obviously, there's an insane lack of documentation for these, but looking at it, I think this small one was where the commander of this particular section would sit in the middle of his defensive front, where he could communicate to everybody, and they could literally shoot over his head.
Right through that grouping is that little shelter, and here is the next, which looks considerably larger. And for the defense of this area, for their sake, thank God for that. And this is significantly bigger than what we see in this area. Let's see what's inside this. Yes, there's a quarry right next to us. This looks a lot bigger than anything I've seen. Could there be a steel dome on top of this? Could there be? Well, this is the entrance. Looks like close defensive. Here's the last ventilation wall. It's covered up. So it's the firing embrasure, the post-war thing. See? Somebody else says, ooh. Machine gun port. Anti-tank cannon. Facing in the direction of East Prussia. That makes sense. I know some of these have steel domes. Let's hope this is one of them. So there was a close defensive board there. And here. So 4733. I'm imagining this is probably the designation after the war. Steel door. Well made. Another steel door. This is actually well made. This is the inside embrasure of the interior close defense. There's a lot of brackets in the wall here. Ventilation pipe. Well, look at that. And then all these pipes in the bottom one. Could that have been a generator? I mean, and certainly the cement looks brand new. Could have been wood in there. This is interesting. Crew compartment. And fire compartment. And here you have a hole in the floor for the casings. Now with some, so that means there is a downstairs. Watch out. There's, holy crap, and this is the well. They had their own well, a lot of these. Actually looks quite dry, actually looks dry. But that also means there's, here again, collection of brass. So this must just have been a way down for a subfloor here just to collect the brass and maybe some storage. Heavy machine gun embrasure. Heavy bolts to hold. For machine gun M08. And now I'm looking for, since they have this whole water cool attachment system for the 08, I don't actually see it. I see a lot of grooves and a lot of carvings in this that I'm not used to seeing. This one was the rear defensive port. So obviously over the well there would have been something. A lid or the pump, more likely. Well done, well done. I don't see any damage to this at all. I remember some of them were not finished on time or equipped with weaponry. I can almost see the next one down there. Could also be a hay bale, but it sounds better the way I think it. Ventilation ports that was cut in through some of this, and here is my favorite Molotov line feature, the blast deflector. Somebody toss a grenade here, the blast would deflect out this way, where there's an old beehive kept in safety, but never mind. And some of the pipes for ventilation for the 08, although I couldn't see any mounts for it. Alright. So what I can sort of see what's going on here is this is the heavy hitter of this particular region. There's three more over here we're going to have a look at. But what we see first is there's a rear protection with more than likely a machine gun that would keep the back of this safe. And then there's a small command, which could be the commander, literally sitting there in the middle of the field directing the battle. That's my guess now. Now we're going to have a look and see if the three over here on this line are identical. Hopefully they're going to be bigger, and hopefully we get to see a steel dome. Now when I say that there's no damage, if we look a little closer, there is battle damage. This was shot at with something that I'm guessing is a 36, a Puck 36, not an 88, but certainly World War II battle damage from the expected direction of fire. And a good 150, 200 meters from that one is another that looks almost identical, except from here it looks like the firing direction is the same direction that the opening is facing. That's kind of weird. And it's actually sitting on a little hilltop here on the other side of the prairie. Looks like there's no machine gun direction here. There's just an entrance here where the cannon is. Strange. Maybe. Two-sided entrance. Let's go have a look. Oh, this is actually identical to the first one we saw. This is just what this is. Now, periscope and flying direction towards Prussia. The steel embrasures are missing, except the steel plate. Steel plate still in place. This thin one, there must have been more. There must have been a thicker one, an embrasure. There was a thicker one, embrasure, where the weapon was placed inside. Fortunately, a lot of those got scrapped. And maybe a little ventilation. Ammunition store. This is pretty much it. And of course, it's funny, the tubes for the periscope mounts, they sit in, usually they sit in these round pipes, and here it might not even have been placed in time. That's very possible. So, a small defensive line on a hilltop. You see the ventilation ports. But given how large this hole is, this must have been an AT gun, 40mm or something even larger, if it was even installed. So on this line, the next one will be over there. We'll have a look at that. But this gives us a fairly good idea of what they were planning in order for defense.
The anti-tank bunkers were equipped with an excellent 45mm field gun and the machine gun of choice with a Maxim gun. The main problem with the Molotov line was not the construction of the bunkers or the locations, but the poor leadership of the occupants at times. Many were surrendered with no or little fight. As these were mutually defending, if one bunker crew fled, the remaining ones would quickly be surrounded and overrun, while others did fight until everybody inside were dead. Another problem was that many of the soldiers that were tasked to occupy these bunkers were, on the eve of war, used for emergency constructions and not around their bunkers to man and defend them.
On the far flank of this line is the one right yonder trees, and the next one is in here, this tree lump. The one we just went to is over here behind the tallest tree there, with the others over here. So let's go see what we can see. See, close defensive protection. Close defensive protection there. Rear protection there. It's been sealed over. Obviously the farmers use these for storage, or have done so through time. I mean, if somebody builds you a bomb-proof shed, what are you going to do, right? This looks remarkably similar to, well, it's a little bigger. It's a very large AT window. Here's the chain for the gun, so we know there was a cannon in here. Gun of some type. There's a collection of spent casings below, and the entire steel plate and the saddle assembly is gone, sadly, to scrappers. And you have ventilation. I'm surprised at the heavy steel doors that appears to be inside all of these. And here we have the machine gun assembly, or where it would be the machine gun position here. The plate would have been here. So for the cannon, you would imagine the same thing, just larger. And there was a subfloor here for the assembly, for the collection of spent casings. And this is probably, well, this is how you get down. There's just a sub basement there. And there's probably, there would have been a water well here as well. This is the firing port of the rear protection. And again, I keep thinking, these are shelves. Something will connect to that pipe. It could have been ventilation. But what I'm not seeing is the holders for the traditional water-cooled Maxim system the Russians used in some of these in the Stalin line. Doesn't mean this wasn't here, it means I can't find it. And but there's a whole well hole in the other room, by the way, with wood. So now we're getting an idea what these are for. There were wood in these to either attach something to, or maybe for lighting lamps. At least now I get to see that. I know what those squares are for, or how they're used. And here's a room divider here. It could have been a power plant here. It's hard to see, really. That's the entrance, the firing department, compartment. And this is, again, for ventilation. There was some significant steel doors in place here, or at least there was placement for them, which is weird. All right, let's go have a look at this baby from the outside. See what that is? Now, what is interesting about this one is the firing directions are not facing direction East Prussia. These firing directions are actually facing the other bunkers. That's interesting. So we're looking at flanking protection, flanking fire. So what is defending east would be interesting, because there have to be, and again, there's no obvious battle damage here. But again, the Germans came from over here when they came out of East Prussia. And the next one hiding here, I'm sort of hoping at least this is firing in direction of where the enemy would approach. Very interesting little cluster here. Now what this was, maybe a little harder to see. Judging from just this one corner, I'm seeing some destruction. And I wonder if this is just the ground floor. I don't think this is the roof. Like, no. It looks really big. That was for the periscope. But where's all this metal protruding from here? Is this a substructure? I think I keep feeling that I'm inside the actual bunker now, because it looks like there's room divisions here, which means this has been thoroughly destroyed or wasn't completed. But it looks very large. See how the rebar is sticking out here? I can't open it on the roof because, oh my damn, I am on the roof. Thank God for that. I was like, God damn it. But look, then all this, look at all this. This is built in. This looks like camouflage. It looks like they've used rocks for camouflage here. That's just a guess on my part because I'm not entirely sure. Okay, thank God. I was getting worried there for a minute. That was just it. Look at this. Here we got 3 anti-tank cannon. This is an artillery bunker. This is some serious stuff. Now we actually have a proper fighting front here. This is what I was expecting to see. And these embrasures are very typical of these generation Russian bunkers, of the Molotov line bunkers. So, and here it's been pried off. This is why what we see so often has been destroyed. It's really sad, but it is what it is. Let's maybe go in here. Seemed like the best place to do it. Then we'll hook Stalin onto. Nice decent floor. But you see this plate? This is really thin. Now this little plate here, what we usually see, this is just the inner plate, as you can now see, and I can now show you. This is how we usually come across these. I can see this is just the inner plate. Since the Russians were clad the walls of the Molotov bunkers, some of the Stalin line as well, because that would contain any potential shrapnel of cement or anything to ricocheting into the fighting compartment if it was hit hard from the outside. And that's, you can see here, see the cement is protruding behind this. I don't know, that's just because these are actually bulging. I don't know, maybe, I don't know what makes these bulge, so nothing hit this on the outside. Maybe this is just scrappers who've been banging on it with a hammer to try to get them out. It's entirely possible. Anyway, let's go look at the fighting part here. So this is just a room for assume munition storage. There was a periscope there, so this could have been the commander's room. And you see rebar, stone, steel plates on the walls here as well. And here is the first, wow, it's all intact, it's all here. Except of course the cannon's not here, but what are you gonna do? A ventilation for the cannon. This would hold it. And here's the slide for the spent casings. But you can even see the floor. You can see the indents of where everything was supposed to be. This is in very good shape, honestly. Deep down there. But here you see the heavy nacelle sitting encased in cement, and you have these really thin steel plates that are surrounding it. That's what we usually see, but this is what's actually missing. It's good to see that it's in place here. I wonder if there's a downstairs. This is very large. This is a good, solid fighting position. I missed the next fighting position. Yeah, it's all you do. Even the holes with the mounts on the floor, I hear that's very, very cool. These communication windows are interesting, I'll say. And here's the rear defense towards the rear door. And here's a chain hanging on the wall. There's no hook in the ceiling over the cannon once it's hanging here. It's very strange. So we'd have a pulley system from there, and then there would have to have been a hook over here. That's probably been removed. But these are all facing the direction and the German advance would come from. Just a quick peek, see if there's a hook in the ceiling. There's not. That's very odd. Okay. So behind the fighting apartments, we have here the entrance. I imagine. Oh, the steel door is still in place. Wow. I did not expect that to still be here. It's also not going anywhere. So I guess I'm stuck here now. Ventilation. Blast deflection that actually looks like it parried a bit of a blast. But here's the door, here's the steel doors. One of them anyway. I think that's awesome that it's there. Absolutely. Absolutely fantastic. There is an underground right there. So let's see. Well, somebody made a ladder for me. This is one of those where I'll say, what could possibly go wrong? So climb my fat ass down there, I said. Alright, this is the upside down view of me crawling down the wooden ladder. Now, I know a couple of kids made this ladder. God bless them. So far, it seems like it's holding. Jesus. I do have a friend outside. Oh, thank God. I mean, you know, a couple local kids hammer this together with a nail. But, hey, good on them. And it held me too, so I'm happy. I can actually get to see the underground. That is not destroyed. It is not wrecked with graffiti. Something may have exploded in here. Wow, this is awesome. And this is below the cannon position. And mind your step, he said. You know, there's always a hole beneath me, or in front of you, or next to you. Alright, so this is where the casings would come down and be assembled here next to a well. Alright, we'll go with that. I mean, I do get the impression that something exploded down here. Maybe there actually was a fight for this. Maybe somebody tossed a grenade down here. Maybe they tried to blow up unspent munitions. It was all guesses. Don't know how the fight went here. Here is the well under the other cannon. Ventilation, I would imagine, down here. And look at that. I actually have wooden sides on this. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. This is wicked cool. This is really something. And the actual deep well. Wow. Wow, what a place. And it's maybe destroyed, but it's not wrecked. See, my friend came to check on me because I sent this wonderful cryptic message saying, well, I may not be able to get out, so just letting you know. Here is the emergency exit, which, again, it's full of sand. It's supposed to be. There's water underneath all of this. This bunker is full of water underneath. And here, up here, is the actual entrance. And that's really weird because if you see the forts the Russians built in 1914, 15, well, they laid them out in the late 1800s. Exactly the same thing. There's a drop or a well right in front of the entrance, just like there are in the bunkers. So you can take these bunkers and, bloody hell, the steel doors here as well. It's in place. This is the original door. Wow. I don't know if it's not supposed to be very thick because the whole point is you get to this point, you need to get out. But the cool thing about it is, okay, the weird thing about it is the emergency exit is under the original entrance. If the original entrance is blocked, well, don't you maybe have a problem getting out of it? Because maybe it's collapsed, or maybe the emergency entrance is also destroyed. So I'm just saying, maybe you'd be better off having the emergency exit some ways away from the actual entrance. But that's just me. Don't want to be that guy. Again, a little hole up here. I can draw parallels all the way back to four Russian forts from the late 1800s. But look at how the cement's come off, exposing the stone or exposing the rebar. It would be hard to not think that something catastrophic happened in here. It doesn't look like natural decay because, like this, it looks like blast damage, because natural decay down here, it's dry, it's safe, it's a very solid position. Why would there be any decay in the walls? And you know what? I just discovered something. Here were 2 cannons and 1 machine gun position. Why? Because there's only 2 cannon wells for heavy casing storage, and there's no third. Wait a minute. Maybe there is. There's another room. I didn't even see that. It's amazing how you can be inside a place like this and miss an entire room. And you see here the steel plates all over the wall. Even down here, there are steel plates on the walls. But no, I'm going to go with what I just said. There is no lift for munition. This is the room where the third gun was. So there was a machine gun here. There's an ME08 up here. ME08. There's a Maxim 08 up here. And that's why there was no large slide for what I'm assuming is 40mm cannon casings coming down. This was just to collect cartridges, machine gun bullets upstairs. That might also be why the embrasure for the machine gun is missing, because it was easier to pry that out than the whole nacelle for a cannon. Learning something here. I was left of the door. What a cool place. How crazy is it that I almost missed this room? It's funny, I came through this door. I mean, obviously it's right there. I was just focused on going right here. It's the craziest thing. All right, now, for the ultimate test in dexterity and stupidity, I'll climb up the ladder, but first, I was wondering if that was wood. It is not. So, to the local kids, like I said, 2 nails, 1 nail. Oh yeah, I love you guys. I love the kids who built this, because you know a couple kids. But you know what? There's no graffiti down here. I mean, this is as pristine
as any bunker I've seen. Really, it is not destroyed. It is not painted over. I'm doing this. Looks like there's fire in there. What's that screw for? A lid for this? What was it screwed on lid for this? Sounds weird. It really is not that easy to crawl up the ladder with one hand. I mean, this is really cool. This really is cool. Yeah, there's a nail protruding from there. I get it. I love the ladder. I love to see this in such a good condition. It's amazing to see. It really is well done that no one wrecked this. And the door's still in place. It's awesome. All right. Now, there's a lot more bunkers out there that's waiting for us. That's one last look. So we'll see what's underneath the cannon embrasure there. And then I'll try the machine gun embrasure. The machine gun embrasure in here. It looks different. Because it was smaller plate and we were just down there. Alright, that's cool. Now let's see if I can navigate my way around the closed gate. But this was a treat. This really was. No graffiti anywhere. That's amazing. I mean, there's a well in front of it, of the door. Except there's no bathroom. No. There might be, honestly. There's a big wood plate, a wooden plate in front of this. See the remnants of it. Wow. And I'm just, last look at that door. Damn, I want to make sure this, I don't know. See, this is where on one hand, I want to just rescue it, bring it to a museum, say here's one of the steel doors, keep it safe. But if I do that, it leaves its original place where it's supposed to be. And then it somehow takes away from this amazing bunker, doesn't it? So it becomes a bit of a gamble. This is where I trust people in the future visiting this to keep it safe and protect it and keep the scrappers as far away as possible. But there was something built on top of this. Maybe they built a house for camouflage, that's entirely possible. But something was on top of this. But there are many interesting and different designs of Molotov bunkers, as I will show you in the next several episodes, as I traveled around Poland to see these, find those that are destroyed, and one that is especially well kept and completely renovated, so we can get to see exactly how everything works. Behind me is Wernher von Braun's first test stand. Down the road is Dybna's nuclear reactor. Over there is the Maginot Line and all its amazing forts. I'm visiting them all and I'm bringing them to you. So I really appreciate you like, follow, and share what I'm doing, trying to document all these important historical locations. And if you feel like you want to watch more pictures or documents that I use for these, go to lostbattlefields.com. And if you feel like helping me out with my travels, because gasoline and travel and airfare is expensive, my PayPal is there, protectionserviceint.com. You are more than welcome, but you don't have to. I appreciate all your support and all your help, and I love seeing these locations, and I love bringing them to you.